When in a position of respect, it is important that you exercise wisdom. If you make an error after being entrusted with power that affects others and make decisions without full understanding of the consequences your actions have on others, you do great harm. Sometimes it's what you fail to do that could endanger your soul. A careless act is still an act, and the suffering is just as damaging, whether you planned it or acted on your emotions. God is understanding, but the stain on your soul was due to your action, not because of malice from God. SOF 5:4. Judge every man with the scales weighed in his favor. Do not be hasty in rendering a decision. Time will make it more just. Be patient and calm in speech, whatever the provocation. The impatient and bad-tempered judge is an unworthy judge who sits astride an untamed horse. SOF 5:5. The words of a judge must be shaped to fit the ears of his listeners. They must be spoken at the right time and in the right manner. His speech should not be too long or too short, and every word should be well chosen. SOF 5:6. The frailties of men accompanying judges to their seats. Therefore, no judge shall sit in judgment alone. Where no punishment is provided by decree, then the judges shall fix the punishment according to past judgments. Where the words of a decree refer to men, then women shall be treated in the same manner, unless it be otherwise stated elsewhere. A child is one whose body has not reached manhood or womanhood. SOF 5:7. When two persons stand before a judge, he should look upon them as though both were likely to be in the wrong, and when they have gone, as though both may have been in the right. The motives of men are many and strange, and even though they bow to the judgment, the dispute between them may not be settled with justice. No matter how careful you are, we are all human, and so flawed. Even the most wise of men fail. Sometimes law is not just, because law must be blind to feelings, but decide based on the law of man, and man is ever flawed. You should endeavor to avoid hypocrisy of tailoring your laws to take into account motives. I can sound harsh, but in the end, if you tailor guilt and innocence on a sliding scale of ethics, you do a disservice to all. The Supreme Court judges of the last 5 decades have unwisely allowed personal opinions and their own interpretations based on today's version of morality to end-run the protections the Founding Fathers painstakingly placed in the Constitution to protect all of us. It is not perfect, but they did acknowledge that by creating a path through the amendment process to make changes. They intentionally wanted us citizens to give consent, not to be cruel to others, but because they understood too much consolidated in a few hands leads to tyranny. They had no wish to recreate the hell of divine right of kings and the Inquisition. Today in America, those on the far right try and use the Constitution as some kind of enforcement of a national morality, while the left finds the constraints enforced on them of having to convince America, 2/3 of us, they are right to let government regulate a lot of rights that we today enjoy. God gave free will, and both the right and the left are using the Supreme Court to take away citizens' free will, being hypocritical calling out the other side, but ignoring their own actions, and teaching the next generation it's not about right or wrong, but just about who is in a position of power to impose their views at any given time. Sometimes there are reasons for procedure, not to protect the individual, but to protect society as a whole.